Welcome back into Ask the Masters, and this week we are diving back into the WU universe, and I'm very excited to announce that today sign-ups open for the brand new Essential Principles of Design workshop. And this is, as you guys have been following along, Watership is doing quite a bit of online teaching, and they're starting to bring all of their essential, or many of their essential classes into an online format so that you can actually take them at your own pace, and you can do them at your leisure and fit them into your schedule rather than having to be traveling to a destination and all of the expenses with that. And so I'm really excited today to talk about the new design course that's coming out, and this is going to be even a slightly different format. And the whole goal with this new format is there are just some classes that you have to have some hands-on with, and we just can't get away from that. And so there's going to be certain classes that are part of the Essential series that really require some in-person, and so this class is going to be one of those classes, but it's going to be in a hybrid format. And so this class is going to be offered with 8 lectures, 8 one-hour modules that you will be doing online, and that's actually what's releasing today, June 15th, is the online availability. And then coming up November 15th at the International Expo in Dallas, you're going to be able to do the 1-hour hands-on class. And so today I have Kurt Krasnier with me, and Kurt is the instructor for this class, and I have seen the outline for the class. I haven't taken it yet, but I got to tell you, the outline was it was lights out. And it's such an amazing class, and it's really exciting as well to start to introduce some of the design elements. WU has a lot of really highly technical classes, and now we're starting to see some of the design classes coming online, and you're just going to see more and more and more of this rolling out. So welcome in today, Kurt, and kind of walk us through how you got involved in this and what your vision for the class is.
All right, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this opportunity. When Dave Peterson first called me, I was like, this is something I've always wanted to do, is go back and teach in some capacity sometime in my career. Having been a landscape architect out of the Kansas State University program in Manhattan, Kansas, I never knew where my venture was going to take me. I've worked for multiple firms, and about 12 years ago, actually here in June, I'm celebrating my 12th year at Lorax Design Group. And so when Dave called to pitch the idea of this class, I was like, well, that's right down my path. That's exactly what we do as consulting landscape architects. And really what the student is going to learn is learn about the building blocks of actually how to assess and evaluate an existing site, but then also learn about the essential principles of design and the design process, about how to take that project to the next level.
That's awesome. And you are a landscape design firm. Sorry, landscape architect, don't mean to offend you.
That happens all the time. We get used to that. So.
But you also do have quite a background in swimming pools as well. You're not just a landscape firm that doesn't do that. So kind of fill everybody into your background, because pools have been an essential part of what you've done for many
most
years.
landscape architects that I know don't know anything about a pool or a water feature or swimming pool design. They may come up with a great layout, but it's not really necessarily, they don't understand much about the hydraulics or the functionality of it. So as a landscape architect, what I wanted to do is jump in full bore as far as actually learning how to do construction documents for pools and how you lay these out properly with the adjacencies and what all features you can have and the details, obviously. And so I went through the Genesis program years ago, and after I went through that program, I realized that that's not where it ends. We were working with clients that were saying, hey, we want you to do a full-blown master plan for our property. We also looked at you for doing the construction documents for the pool. And so after going through that program and then learning more about the other people in the industry that I could learn from and the vendors, 10 years ago we got into actually doing designs for pools and construction documents, and it's gone from there. And now half of our business is commercial projects all around the country, and the other half is high-end residential. So we really go wherever the client takes us.
Yeah, and so one of the visions that I know Dave Peterson and Bill Drakely have for this class is for this not to be just for the pool industry. And I know the pool industry tends to be a little light on the design, their design knowledge and the language of design. And so for those of us in the pool industry, a class like this is just essential for learning how to interface with design professionals. But at the same time, I'm really looking forward to design professionals that maybe don't know a whole lot about swimming pools, having the ability to learn from someone like you who really does have a real in-depth understanding about swimming pools and how to make the two together. I mean, that just seems, it's something that is really missing from the architecture side of things so much. As so many times we see pool by others, and you know, I'm looking forward to having design professionals come in and learn from you how to understand the vessel as well.
Well, if we flip the script, steel sharpens steel. So the reality is bringing other landscape architects or designers in other different industries into Watershapes University and learning about what they can about construction in the pool industry. You're going to learn both ways. And so we're excited to explore what we know is from the design aspect and how we can apply that into this course that we're actually outlining, but also have those guys be exposed to other classes that Watershape University offers.
So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit too, because you know, a lot of people in the pool industry, they really poo-poo designers, and there's really you know, from the construction side, there is somewhat of an animus, and oh, those designers, you know, they don't want to budge and they don't want to end anything, and they don't know anything about construction. And you know, you've sold your construction firm a number of years ago, but you used to do construction as well. So you're not coming at this from just a book knowledge. You actually were in the field for a number of years.
Yeah, we built pools for about 5-6 years, and really it stemmed from a client that had gone through the design process with us, really liked working with us, understood that I came from a construction background. My father was in the construction industry, he was in the concrete industry, and my grandfather was a structural engineer, did bridges. My other grandfather moved soil for a living. He built dams and highways. So being around all that as a child, I was exposed to it as a different level, not from the pool side, but when I got into actually managing projects or being an owner's rep, and then it went into the full-blown construction, I learned a lot more about what I didn't know and how to manage subs and to sequence trades and to work with expectations with clients. And those are all really important things. So yeah, I do come from a portion of the construction background, but we're really founded in design. And we hope that that's what we really can bring as the value to others in this organization.
Sure, yeah, and I bring that up only because, you know, I think it just gives you that much more credibility to, you know, the contractor in the field who's saying, well, why as a pool builder, you know, do I need to know anything about design? You know, it gives you the credibility to say, and for you, the student, you know, this is not just somebody that's talking theory and that. And I know for myself, when I started my education journey with Genesis as well, one of the first classes that I took was a design class because I knew nothing. And I remember meeting my friend Randy Beard, who's now been my mentor since 2006, at that class. And I remember walking out of the class at lunchtime on day one and saying, oh my goodness, I don't belong here. And the journey that I've been on, you know, these last 16, 17 years, has been magical, really. And I don't fancy myself as a designer at all. I'm not I don't have that talent, but the principles and the things that I learned in the design classes gave me the language and gave me the understanding to be able to work with architects and to be able to understand, hey, I can't move this pool wall over 3/4 of an inch because it's just more convenient, or the excavator dug it in the wrong place. There are overarching principles within design that this class exposes you to as a contractor, and I think it makes you a better builder, and it makes the entire process just that much smoother with the architects. There's no longer, I don't feel an animus towards architects. I don't feel like, you know, it's me against them and they're trying to get their way and make me pay more money and do all of that. So for that reason, I mean, I just think everybody in the industry should do this class.
Oh, no question. I think that, you know, it goes back to the fact that we're not only trying to help educate ourselves and being better at what we do as a business or an individual, also bringing other people up in the industry and giving them a foundation and the footing to know that they can be better at what they do. It doesn't matter, like I don't consider myself a hydraulic expert, but I know enough about it I can educate my client of what's right and wrong. And if I can't answer a question, I could at least reach out to others in the industry, no different than Watershapes University, or ask the masters, other people that I've come across in the last 12 years that really have made me a better designer. So it just goes both ways. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the structure of the class. So it's 8 one-hour modules that
Correct.
you'll be able to take online. Can you? I'm not going to put you on the spot to say what are each of the 8 modules, but tell me a little bit about what the individual modules are and what you're kind of going through during the lecture part, and then we'll talk about the hands-on stuff too.
Yeah, part of it's going to be based on theory, just really understanding how do you build a theory or a concept for an overall project. And also looking at the overall site as a whole. You know, a lot of times when we're looking at pool projects or flipping through a pool magazine, we're seeing really just the backyard. And as a landscape architect, I'm always talking to people about context. Where does this project sit in the realm of everything else around it? You know, the adjacent neighbors. Is it a proximity to a highway? You know, is there road noise? What's it like? Is there a ceremonial entrance to the front of the project that teases you a bit, or maybe is the trailer that pulls you into the backyard? And when you get there, it's a little snippet of what to expect when you get to the backyard. So what I always tell contractors and others is just, let's just pull it back a little bit and let's look at the big picture. So we'll talk about that. There'll be fundamentals of just design principles. There'll be visual graphics. You know, how do you even get started with a design? You know, what makes sense? We'll talk about the forms of real conceptual plans all the way up through master plans, the deliverables that you actually would expect as a client. We talk a little bit about construction documents, just how does it apply to going from that transition of a design to construction documents and why it's important to educate your client what to expect, and just building expectations with clients of what is the value of the overall design process when they're going through this.
Yeah, and you know, on the construction document side of things, you really, if you're starting to develop construction documents, you got to understand how a pool gets constructed and things like that. And that's what I see a lot of times. I see so many architects actually draw construction design, you know, details and that, and they're unbuildable.
And they don't make sense.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's, again, pulling back the architects in here, you know, kind of understanding and going through the entire education process, not just this class, you know, to learn how to do, you know, the nuts and bolts and everything.
We're all cogs in the wheel, and so I've always been one about collaboration and reaching out to the trades, you know, trying to educate the client. We're all in this for a short period of time, and whether it's from design, construction documents, working with the trades, the craftsmen that are there, working in municipalities and working with a client, if all of that doesn't come together, the project could probably still be successful, but you need everyone to kind of pitch in and do their part. And that's what this project's about. And then one of the modules that we are going to do is a little different than just design, but how do you perceive what your talents are as a designer or a pool contractor or a trade, and how do you apply that to being successful in your business? And so we do talk a little bit about that as well, because I think that's important. It comes full circle from talking to the client early on and understanding or evaluating the site, the design process, but then how do you go out and sell that and be successful at doing that?
Yeah, that's great. So much of our industry doesn't put enough value on design, and you know, it can make or break a project. I mean, you can have a project be good, and then you can have a project be great, and it can be the same site, you know, and just the little nuances of having some design knowledge and a design professional involved, you know, and it doesn't even really have to add any expense. It's just the little tweaks in that. So tell me a little bit about what's coming in November and what does the hands-on look like? That's an 8-hour hands-on?
Yeah. It's just like anything we do in life. You could watch videos on YouTube or sit and talk to someone at a coffee shop about what they do for a living, all of a sudden you're an expert. That's not always the case. Or you could read tons of books about something. But when you actually get in a classroom setting and you're asked to go through the process of actually drawing a design and taking it through all the different steps that are the success fundamentals or the essentials of design that get you to the end for that final presentation. You know, sometimes people are probably, you know, fearful of that process, but nonetheless, that's what we're hoping to do is educate them about there is a right and wrong way to go through it. From what I've learned for the 27 years I've been in the industry, and hopefully they pull something out of that they could take home and apply. So it's more tactile. You're actually going to get your hands dirty in a different way, not putting together plumbing or shooting a wall or constructing a tile installation. This is different. It's more from the design side.
Yeah, and I know for myself, I'm fine going into a classroom and putting together pipes and cutting and doing kind of the hands-on things, but I freeze up in my design when I have to draw something and when I have to come up with a concept. And like anything else in life, practice.
Building confidence, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's great that you're going to have that, but then also, it's not a significant period of time. It's a one-day commitment, which is nice. But then you're also under some deadlines too. And so there is that little bit of pressure that, hey, you're going to be presenting this to the class. And, there is that there. So we're really trying to create a real world type scenario where there's a deadline, there's a presentation. And so you're not only going through the theory, you're actually going to walk through and make a design for a specific project and present it to the entire class.
And there's going to be different actual sites. We might have 3 completely different types of sites. You may or may not know what you're going to get. You may be able to choose one, or we may just say, here's the actual project site you're going to be working on. Here's a profile of the clients you're working for. Here's some of the materials or the inspirations that they talked about, whether it's from vacations or things they found in magazines or saw in a movie. And you all of a sudden have to put all that together, decipher it, go through that whole discovery phase, and then figure out, okay, now how do I tackle this thing based on the things you've learned from the 8 modules that you've actually watched.
Cool. So as the man putting this whole thing together, who is your ideal student? Who do you think is going to benefit the most? And then who do you think should come to this that may not necessarily think they need to come to it at this point?
It's really anyone that wants to benefit themselves. I think most of the people in the pool industry that I hang around with are just passionate about always learning. And at some point you can go to college for 4 years and you kind of tap out, and then all of a sudden you realize, I yearn for that understanding of wanting to go out and learn something new. I learn something every day. And so with my staff, I'm always telling them, listen, we may be good at what we do, but there's always something we could do better. So as far as the type of client, it could be a pool contractor. It's always by default had to do design because it was placed on them. They go out and they meet with a client because they want a pool, and they're like, we want this, this, and that. Well, if that pool contractor doesn't have a particular contact, whether it's a landscape architect or someone that just does their designs, do they really want to be up late in the evening drawing these things, but they still need to understand them? So if they are going to design them, they could come to this class and understand some of the fundamentals, so then when they're sitting in front of a client and they're walking through this, they could talk through it and educate the client the reason why they did the things they did.
Yeah, and it just makes you that much better. So much of the pool industry is by default designing all the time anyway. And so add in a little bit of design education and actual formal education on the design side rather than just my creativity. It just makes you that much better.
And it's going to be tough to cover everything. We're talking 27 years of me being out in the real industry, and then I had 5 years of school. So it's just like we've consolidated a lot down into 8-hour modules, but this class is also going to help flesh out what other things people want to see, so that maybe in the future we can have other classes that will also be applicable to the overall design aspect of it.
Sure. I'm super excited. I'm going to be teaching, and so I can't sit in on this first one, but I got to tell you, you've whet my appetite for it. And even though I've taken some design classes, I'm looking forward to the next time you have the in-field stuff. And I'm gonna hit up Dave. So as of today, I'm a student as well.
All right.
So super excited. So again, June 15th. That is today, the day we're releasing this podcast. So you can go to sign up. So down in the comment section below here on the YouTube video, just look through the comments, and we will have a unique Ask the Masters link that will take you right to the class. And as always with the Ask the Masters, we always have special programs and special perks for our members that sign up through the ASLA Masters portal. So it's look for that. It is live right now, and just a reminder, you will have between now or whenever you sign up, all the way through November 15th to get through your 8 modules. And the nice thing about those modules too is if there's a module that you're struggling on, you can go back and watch it and rewatch it and rewatch it. And that's one of the things that I'm really, I think that's game changing for the way people learn. You're not drinking from a fire hose and trying to get that all in one straight 8-hour session. So start that right now, and signups will be live for the international event as well, where you'll be able to sit down in the classroom and go through an entire design process from beginning to end, and you will walk out with an actual buildable design at the end. And at the end of the class, you will be critiqued by not only Kurt, but by your fellow students. And it's an entire process, and you know, for someone like me, it's very stretching, but at the same time, I'm actually embarrassed. I didn't even save the first design that I did in the first design class, and I don't regret that I didn't save it because it was terrible. But as I've grown and seen more things over the years, I think I've become better at it, even though I don't think I'm good at it. But it's just, there's so much to pick up from this, and if you've never taken a design class, honestly, I think this class would be wonderful. And as somebody who has actually taken 3 design classes over the years, repeated one and took another one, I'm looking forward to taking it again, even though I don't do design. So thank you so much for coming on, and I'm really excited for all of our members to embark on this journey with you.
I look forward to it. Thank you all. Appreciate it. See you soon.